Yeah, I mean, like, I don't care about the anti-Semitic stuff, so we can move past the accusations. That's not interesting to me. The accusations of anti-Semitic, like, yeah, I have no problem owning or saying I think you should be able to be pretty upfront about that.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean you don't care about the anti-Semitic?
Like, you keep trying to say that, like, these are really uncomfortable and harsh truths. Like, I'm fine confronting any of these. These are not uncomfortable things. Like, I think I don't know if you're just scared to say your true position either in front of me or publicly, but like, I would say that a lot of Jewish people, the majority of Jewish people, are probably viewing Israel as more special in some ways than the United States, even if they're in the United States.
Sure.
Even if they know intention
Certainly
of going
religious
there.
Jews, yeah, which is completely fine. Yeah,
Probably most ethnically Jewish people.
do violence against Jews.
The way that I view
equivalent.
neo-Nazis is, and I just haven't been in these communities for a while, but I generally don't view them as wanting to like kill Jewish people or murder them. They just want all of them out of the country, or at least all of them removed from positions of power and influence. Yeah. But like, if you could push a button and like, if you could ask like a Groiper, if you could push a button to deport every single Jew back to Israel in the United States, I think at least 50% of them say, yeah, get them the fuck out. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it also depends on the problem is because he has such wide range. I mean, I was at Thanksgiving and I asked my like 16-year-old cousins if they heard of Nick Fuentes. They're like, yeah, he's funny.
I need to be drunk for this. Not for this talk. Hi, what's up?
You said you need to be drunk for this?
No, for the event I did, I needed to drink for that.
This is fair. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Is Arc Raiders a good game?
I would say so. Yeah, but it depends on what kind of games you like.
But I can't see you on my...
Yeah, you think you deserve to see me?
Nobody deserves anything.
Hold on.
We all fall sin and fall short of the glory of God.
Are you religious? I forget.
I would say I act as if God exists.
What does that mean? You just have basic morality that every single human being has? Is that...
I don't know about every single human being.
True. Can't forget about MAGA.
True.
Wait, why do I have a full-ass camera? What the fuck?
Yeah, you got the widescreen. Nice.
Oh, whatever. You're getting the widescreen.
And the holiday setup?
Yeah, true. Oh, because of my Starbucks.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay. Sorry. My friend Kyle is trying to get me to play Arc Raiders instead of Age of Empires 2.
Well, I mean, if you're a big Age of Empires 2 person, Arc Raiders is significantly different than that, right?
Exactly. And I'm more of a strategy fan. We play Age of Empires 2 together, but he refuses, him and Patrick refuse to get better. That's how it feels.
Well, who's Patrick?
Cause some friction.
Do I know either of these people?
Huh?
Who's Patrick?
No, these are my friends.
Oh.
You don't know these people.
Okay.
Kyle will literally build his town center like 7 tiles away from any resource.
What in the fuck is he doing? Oh, it's like noobs. It's like, you're not even trying.
Well, and it's like, listen, I'm okay. Like, I love to play, but like, I can't carry 3v3s all the time.
And when they're not even trying. This is like weaponized encounters. This is like when the woman is like,
yeah, well, it's
7 tiles away, you're collecting resources. Don't you want to be right on top of them? I imagine you probably live right next to him, right?
Yeah, but his thought, I mean, it's understandable. His thought is, it's in between the wood line and the, like a gold mine. So it's like equidistant. It's like, that's not how you do it. You put a town center on the wood line and then you build a mining camp on the gold mine.
Just tell them
it's like, look,
one time, fix it.
Yes, I know, but this is the problem. They don't seem to respond positively to feedback.
Guys, why is my YouTube chat not on screen? My poor YouTubers. What do you mean they don't respond well to feedback? How long have you known these guys for?
Decades. Maybe not decades. 15 years. Whoa, why is suddenly my thing just went goofy. Oh, it's fixed.
Extreme G2.
See, it's because I'm unemployed, and so I am like 1,300 elo. No, I hover between 1,200 and 1,300. And, they're at like 700 or 800 around there. And,
damn,
so,
they're
I
losers.
tell them to do something. Well, look, they just want to have fun.
Do they make this in ISO form, guys?
But I think it's more fun to win. And when people don't respond positively to feedback.
I mean, if they're not trying to win, where's the fun? Sorry, not ISO. I meant STI. I meant STI. Fuck. So how's life been? What have you been up to?
Going back for Christmas tomorrow on Christmas Eve. Having a blast. Do you do anything for Christmas or
No.
Thanksgiving? Do you see your family on the holidays?
I should see my mom tomorrow night. My mom and dad. I should. If I'm not being a lazy piece of shit.
That's fair. Okay, hold on. My fucking screen is completely fucked up here. Okay.
What's wrong with it?
It's like shaking a ton. And it's distracted me.
It's not shaking on my end, so that's pretty weird.
No, I know. It's on my end. Hold on. I think I can just do this.
Oh man, this guy's so mad. This is a fan.
Well, it's always interesting to talk to you, Destiny.
Good. I'm an interesting guy to talk to.
You are 100%. I appreciate you not playing Arc Raiders while we're talking to you.
I would never
Thank you
dream
for
of doing
creating
that.
space.
Why would I ever do that?
That's fair. Well, I messaged you to talk about liberalism.
Okay.
Maybe some Nick Fuentes too. Seeing as those things are tightly linked.
Sure.
What do you think of the MAGA civil war that's going on between you got the post-liberals, kind of like Tucker Carlson, J.D. Vance, versus like the neoconservatives, Ben Shapiro's, versus like the white identitarians, like Nick Fuentes. And then over on the side, you have the schizos like Candace Owens and Ian Carroll. But I don't know if you saw the stuff at CPAC. Where do you think all that's going? What's your assessment of that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just the natural consequence of MAGA being like a principleless, valueless movement. It was kind of basically just like, do you support Trump? If you view it, all of these are going to sound partisan. I don't care if they sound partisan at this point. But if you view it as through like the lens of like a cult, kind of like I do, everybody was attracted to Trump because he was the cult leader. But there's not like a consistent political ideology that really holds any of them together. I don't even know if you could say populist, that holds them together. And so as Trump is beginning to recede, there's a huge vacuum that's created, not just in terms of leadership, but in terms of ideology. And I think people are trying to stake out what they want the next ideology of the Conservative Party to be. And that's kind of what the fight is over right now. And there's no surprise that there are like hugely differing ideas about what that ideology should be, given the wide assortment of people that kind of fell under the gaze of Trump.
Yeah, who's winning, do you think? Who will be in the ascent once Trump is gone?
It's hard to know because we haven't really seen which direction the political establishment will go in yet. Obviously, on the internet, it seems like the Candace Owens types and the Nick Fuentes types are the loudest. The Ben Shapiro and the traditional media types seem to be the quietest. But I think most of these people kind of still have their lot thrown in with Trump because they have like political power and they're trying to maintain their political offices and their political effectiveness. So it'll be, once Trump is fully receded and we see which way, these people go, I think we'll have a better idea of how that's going to shape up. There's also a weird thing where, no, I don't know. It's impossible to say. 10 years ago, I would have told you there's no way that somebody like Donald Trump could ever be president. So
true. Yeah, it's interesting. I think first off, Nick Fuentes and Candace seem to be now in different camps. I don't know if you've seen any of that back and forth.
A little bit, yeah.
And then Tucker and JD Vance. Do you think there's a chance that Nick ends up supporting JD Vance? Or do you think he'll just never will?
I would be surprised if he supported him as anything more than a useful idiot. I don't personally. I could be wrong. I just don't think Vance has a political future. I mean, I could be totally wrong there.
He lacks charisma, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't even know what his ideology is, if it's like broadly appealing to the conservative base.
Yeah. If I had to bet, I think actually Nick Fuentes will end up supporting JD Vance.
Why do you think that?
Well, because assuming it's a binary choice, no matter how much he shits on him and calls him a race traitor for marrying an Indian woman, I just think I can't see him supporting a Democrat, which will be Kamala, right?
Well, yeah, he'd never support a Democrat. Or I guess what I was more curious in, you mean he would like support him as like a useful idiot type? Like, well, this guy is going to be the conservative leader.
Well, I mean, because he was like saying he would campaign against Trump at one point.
Who, JD Vance or Nick Fuentes?
Nick.
Oh, sure.
Was saying that.
I mean, he might as a useful idiot, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, sure. To the degree that if you have a binary choice, you would rather pick one useful idiot than
somebody who's oppositional to you, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I've come to ask you about the Nick Fuentes question.
What is it? Yeah.
What do you think about Nick Fuentes at this point in history?
I mean, he's got a strong like set of ideas that he believes in. It's technically, I think it's a better direction for the Conservative Party than the fucking Trump shit that they're in now. But obviously, I'm opposed to any like state religion-ish stuff and a lot of kind of the more racial essential ideas and a lot of the retreat from what I would say are kind of like core like capital L liberal values. Yeah.
You said you think it's a better direction than what Trump is going in?
Yeah, I just think Trump is just a
In what way?
disaster. It's just a horrible administration. It's a combination of narcissism and incompetence. Those two things together are just horrible. Like at the very least, if he was like obsessed with making America great for some racial reason or some fascist reason or whatever the fuck else, at least he'd be trying to make America great. But he's not. He literally is just a self-serving fucking retard. But he's even too stupid to be self-serving. So like their prosecutors are getting kicked out. Their court filings are fucked up. Like their DOJ is incompetent. They just tried to drop some of these Epstein files and they fucking didn't redact them correctly, and he's constantly backstabbing even his strong political allies. Like he shouldn't be backstabbing Mike Johnson or losing Marjorie Taylor Greene. So he's like politically ineffective. It's just dumb. It's just a fucking disaster. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the mainstream discussion is, well, Nick Fuentes is an anti-Semite, a racist, and this is a bad direction for the Conservative Party to go in. I think Nick Fuentes does foster a great deal of racism and anti-Semitism, you could say. And it needs to be contended with. But I think the problem is everyone calling him a racist and a hateful bigot. It's like it's literally the Donald Trump racist debate. It's like it's totally irrelevant. The people that need to be convinced either way will not be convinced on the basis of, well, let's speculate whether or not Donald Trump is racist. I mean, he said Somalia is a trash country or whatever recently. It's like you could just say it's obvious. Like that will convince no one. And so I think Nick Fuentes does need to be contended with. And I mean, the way I see it, it's like he is riding a tidal wave of anti-Israel sentiment, some of which is valid, some of which is just genuine anti-Semitism. And the two ways to deal with this tidal wave, I think a meteor is a better analogy. A meteor is heading towards Earth, and it's filled with anti-Israel and anti-Semitism sentiment. You can either nuke the meteor or you can nudge it off course. And I think there's a lot of people saying we should just nuke it by calling him a racist, hateful, bigot, and all that. And I don't think that's working. And so I'm in we should nudge it off course. But nudging it off course then involves acknowledging the true things he does say, which then gets you accused of being anti-Semitic when I think that's complete nonsense.
So
go ahead.
I think I'd view him as probably a bit anti-Semitic. Anybody who does the crazy Jew conspiracy theory shit is a little bit played out. I try not to do the racism stuff. I usually focus more on concepts related to xenophobia. I think xenophobia is a stronger idea. I think it takes hold in a deeper way, and I think it could be a little bit more. It takes root in a stronger way. Like there's like this, what's the saying? Like racism never survives first contact. Like if you just meet another guy and he's nice or whatever, whatever, stuff like that. But xenophobia can be a lot more insidious and harder to uproot from somebody once it's like really taken hold. And I view Fuentes, and even Trump to some extent, as being more xenophobic than just simply racist. I do think that the ideas need to be dealt with better. I feel like the new breed of like liberal that is finally fucking emerging post the second Trump season, led by people like Gavin, some of your stronger center left people, your Brian Tyler Cohens, your Destinies, your like Adam Mockler, like these types of people are doing a better idea. They're doing a better version of presenting like a stronger, positive version of liberalism rather than just it being a negative response to Trump or being like a woke scoldy response to whatever else. So hopefully if that continues, I think that would be a good direction for the liberals to go in. Yeah.
Would you advise that people call Nick Fuentes a Nazi if they're trying to contend with him?
It really depends on who you're talking about. I don't like to personally because I'm more interested in just debating the ideas, and just calling somebody a Nazi is an easy way to write them off. And that's boring to me. However, for older people, I don't think older people care that much. Like there's a lot of people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, where if they hear you're like if you jokingly refer to yourself as like a racist, sexist Nazi, they'll just like immediately turned off. So like for my demographic and for the audience that I talk to, I prefer to just deal with the ideas more than anything else. And Nick Fuentes saying that he's a racist is like just funny. People laugh at it, like, oh, he's racist. But when older people hear that, late 40s, 50s, 60s, they're like, oh, I'm a racist. Those people are like, I don't know, I don't feel good about this kid. So it's a very, very different, I think, voting population. Yeah.
Do you think Sam Hyde is a Nazi?
Or neo-Nazi, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever is like the most adjacent thing to that idea. Yeah, for sure.
Would you think it's wise to call Sam Hyde a Nazi? To speak to the demographic that you're targeting.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't.
Do you remember when we talked about this?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah,
a year ago.
I mean,
very
like,
adamant that he was a Nazi.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think Sam Hyde is. He has a scary level of nihilism that seeps behind his eyes that I think is incredibly destructive. And
gotcha. I don't know if I like neo-Nazi over Nazi just because Nazi could refer more specifically to some other sets of beliefs. I don't know. Like I think it's okay to identify him as a neo-Nazi, but again, I'm not as interested. People usually look to these labels when they're trying to just dismiss somebody. Like I'd rather just talk about the ideas.
Correct.
But I mean, like I do feel like he's definitely a neo-Nazi for sure. But like I'd rather just like address the ideas and deal with them one at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very dark centrist of you. I mean, my whole approach is rob the people you disagree with of their only valid talking points, and then they're left with nothing else. But then the problem is that involves acknowledging that involves running the risk of being accused of anti-Semitism stuff. I mean, like the example I always point to, and I point to this because it's very cut and dry, and it's also part of like Nick Fuentes' origin story, is like the whole claim that Nick Fuentes talks about Jewish people having dual loyalty, and this is a classic anti-Semitic trope. It's like, okay, well, if you say all Jews have dual loyalty, then that is. And if you say that someone's genetics predisposes them to be an untrustworthy person, then that is degenerate and anti-Christian, I would say. But like someone like Ben Shapiro, who said verbatim, the single biggest guarantor of my loyalty to the United States is the existence of the state of Israel. Have you seen that clip?
No.
He's on stage.
I haven't seen it. I mean, I take your word that it exists, but sure.
Okay. Yeah, the verbatim quote is, the single biggest guarantor of my loyalty to the United States is the existence of the state of Israel. That is very clearly someone who, in my mind, it's perfectly reasonable to listen to that, contextualize it with the fact that he is an Orthodox Jew whose religion compels him to care about Israel. And you could say, it seems like Ben Shapiro cares more about Israel than the United States. That is among the most mundane, common sense observation. And I think the problem is people label that as anti-Semitism. And then you have syndrome. If everything's anti-Semitic, nothing is. And then that allows the genuine anti-Semitism, like, saying, well, because Jews are a particular genetic group, none of them can be trusted. I think it allows that to be trafficked in.
Couldn't they
what do you think about?
Couldn't that just be true? Is that even? Let's start at the very basic thing. Is that even a bad thing? Let's say that's true. Is it a bad thing?
What's true? That Ben Shapiro has more loyalty to Israel than the United States?
Yeah.
Is it a bad thing? As an American, I think that is not in America's interests, but it's a perfectly rational and reasonable thing if you're a
let's back up
religion
on a very abstract, or maybe this is a less abstract and more applied level. As applied to like an individual, if they have like some higher level of allegiance to their country of origin, or for Jewish people it's a little different because they have like their one country versus the United States, but it, let's say this is all public, is that necessarily a bad thing? Would we say this is a negative thing?
No, I mean, it depends on how it's manifested.
Okay.
I would say
I would agree with that, with what you just said there. I would agree with that 100%. I think there are times where it could be really bad. And I think there are times where it's like, I would kind of expect that, right? When I was married to Melina and she was in the United States, albeit for a short period of time, I don't know if I would ever have expected her to love the United States more than Sweden. So like if she was like in the political position as president, this is why presidents have to be a naturalized citizen, right? Or born here or whatever, right? I don't know if she would make the decision to nuke Sweden to save the United States. So I think that this dual loyalty concept, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It could be. You just have to see how it plays out, number one. And then number two, I think it's also a little bit weird because the United States is so much more powerful than Israel that it also changes it a bit. Like imagine if you were a dual citizen in Israel and your main allegiance was to the United States, I think as an Israeli in a country of 10 million people, you would look at somebody whose allegiance is to a country of 330 million and be like, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. But then this is also augmented by the fact that people feel like Jews are disproportionately in positions of power in the United States, and then there's the whole back and forth. But yeah. Okay, yeah. But I would start there. So like,
sure. Okay. Well,
yeah.
we can pick. Well, let's narrow in on two specific examples.
Sure.
Well, this first one, just anecdotally, I had a Israeli settler in the West Bank call into one of my streams, and he told me he voted in the U.S. election by mail because he's technically a citizen of the United States. And it's like, that's deeply concerning that Israeli settlers are voting for people in the United States. Now, is that like going to swing the election? No, but that's just a very specific example of.
Well, there's probably, but any U.S. citizen who lives in another country could theoretically vote in the United States, right?
True, but you're right. In my opinion, I think you would agree, Israeli settlers are at direct odds with U.S. interests. The expansion of settlements in the West Bank is a thing that is objectively bad for the United States.
I mean, so there's a lot of stuff at play here because we're getting from the personal to the country and then our subjective opinions of each. So I would say yes. But I would say that settlements are opposed to Israeli interest even. I would say they're bad for Israeli interest. Yeah.
I agree, 100%.
But obviously that guy would disagree, and he would say, well, the settlements are good for Israel, and I think they're good for the United States as well because they strengthen Israel's foothold in the Middle East, and we're their most important. Well, I mean, I would say that. I don't know if I'd be comfortable to say like objectively he's wrong. I would say that they're wrong.
You've gotten much.
What?
More ameliorating over the past year or so.
No, I think I'm always where I've been at. But I would say that like I would expect him to vote the way that he feels is important. Like for as much as I would say he's objectively voting against U.S. interest, I would say that applied tenfold to every single person who voted for Donald Trump, especially a second time.
Yeah, fair enough. Fine.
Yeah, or third time, I guess. Yeah.
Fine, but you do believe that is against U.S. interest. I guess my point is that's a narrow example. Let's just pick a different example of like Larry Ellison. The exact quote from Larry Ellison, what was it? It was something to the effect of, I wrote it down. You know who Larry Ellison is? Head of Oracle.
Is he Jewish?
He's Israeli, yes.
Okay.
For 2,000 years, we were stateless. This is him speaking to the Friends of the IDF benefit group, which is a charity for giving money to the IDF. For 2,000 years, we were a stateless people, but now we have a country we can call our own. In my mind, there is no greater honor than supporting some of the bravest people in the world, the IDF. He's the CEO of Oracle. They've explicitly said our support for Israel is unequivocal.
Sure.
He is the owner of Skydance Media, who his son is the chairman of Paramount. Skydance Media owns Paramount, or a majority stake in Paramount. And he appointed Barry Weiss. He also is one of the largest partners in the new TikTok acquisition that's supposed to go in January 26th.
Okay.
So, you talk about tropes. It's like, well, here is someone who explicitly is saying the greatest honor is to serve a different country. Now exercising top-down control over multiple media outlets. It's like.
Okay. Also, just as a quick correction, I think this guy he's an American Jew, not Israeli, but go ahead.
I believe he has Larry Ellison Israeli origin is what I read. He's an American.
Okay. I see. He was born in New York City. So I don't know if he has Israeli citizenship as well or something, but.
Okay. Well, then whatever.
Sure. But yeah, now, I mean, I don't know if that even affects him much. Sure, but he said what he said, yeah?
Well, this is arguably, it'd be more understandable if he's Israeli. The point is, if you have an American Jewish person with a significant amount of control and influence over, one subsection of the media.
I think that's pretty problematic, yeah?
If you are against the U.S.-Israeli, if you're against the degree to which the U.S. supports Israel, then that's bad. That's against U.S. interests.
Well, do you think there might be another more problematic thing lurking here, though?
What's the more problematic thing? The
fact that one person might be able to exercise that much control over some section of U.S. media?
Sure.
Like, I think that
Sure.
the fact that this guy might be Jewish or whatever might be like 2% of the problem, and I think like 98% of the problem with the screaming like singular
Well, I
people
would
could be
argue-
as influential in U.S. media, right?
Well, depending on how you slice it, I would argue the fact that he's Jewish is totally irrelevant because you can be Jewish and not support the state of Israel.
Well, yeah, but if you're gonna have this level of allegiance, he's probably Jewish, right? He's probably gonna be more often than not, right?
Well, yes,
Yeah.
yes, we could say hardcore Zionist.
We could say, yeah, Jewish Zionist.
But this is my point. So people can just point this out very clearly. This is what is happening. This is why Nick Fuentes is popular and gaining steam.
Sure.
It's because these very simple. You see Ben Shapiro say, "There's no greater," or what was it? The single biggest guarantor of my loyalty to Israel is my loyalty to the United States, the existence of Israel. Then you have Larry Ellison making all these moves. Benjamin Netanyahu said the most important thing to acquire is TikTok. It's the most important thing in the media war. And then you have Larry Ellison acquiring TikTok, who is a devout supporter of Israel.
Sure.
And it's like, this is my point, is like, well, you don't nuke the meteor by saying, well, this is all anti-Semitic nonsense, this is all conspiracy, this is all, this is dual loyalty or Jews around the world tropes. It's like, no, this is acknowledging the kernels of truth. And then, I mean, you have to do that in order to contend with someone.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering if you agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't care about the anti-Semitic stuff, so we can move past the accusations. That's not interesting to me. The accusations of anti-Semitic, like, yeah, I have no problem owning or saying I think you should be able to be pretty upfront about that.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean you don't care about the anti-Semitic?
Like, you keep trying to say that like these are really uncomfortable and harsh truths. Like, I'm fine confronting any of these. These are not uncomfortable things. Like, I think I don't know if you're just scared to say your true position either in front of me or publicly, but like I would say that a lot of Jewish people, the majority of Jewish people, are probably viewing Israel as more special in some ways than the United States, even if they're in the United States.
Sure.
Even if they don't intend
Certainly
on going
religious
there.
Jews, yeah, which is completely fine. Yeah.
Probably most ethnically Jewish people, right? Because this is the one place. This is the one place in the world that guarantees some sort of like ethnic protection for them, and they've been ethnically persecuted in the past. I don't even think the religious aspect is that important to it. I think the ethnic protection is more important. And if you live in the United States, Israel probably is like a really important thing to you, and you might even like prioritize that connection to Israel over the U.S. I think I'm pretty comfortable saying this is probably the case with like a decent amount of Jewish people. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, of course, that's just objectively true. But first off, you would get accused of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'll say I hate Israel and I hate Jews. Fuck
Well,
religion.
to be
fuck
honest,
wealth.
I mean,
I don't care. I don't give a fuck about that. Yeah, but so I'm just saying, if you're trying to be careful to dance around that, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about those accusations. Yeah. But I would say, but the next step I would say is that any weird issues that we have relating to pointing out like Jewish influence in media or Jewish influence in certain areas, I would say like these could be problematic things. But I think these are good. I think these are good metrics by which we should evaluate the entire system instead, rather than just trying to keep the Jewish people out of these certain positions. That would be my thing, my contention. And then if we were to go on the factual side of like how much have Jews steered U.S. domestic or foreign policy, I would say not nearly as much as they wish they could, and not nearly as much as some people think they have. And then we could do either side of that, I guess. But yeah.
Sure. And if Jews control the world, that means Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, you, me, we're all part and parcel of the grand Mossad op. So obviously you can take it to an extreme end. I'll just tell you. You said my true position. I'll tell you my true position. Okay. Just based from first principles.
Sure.
I believe in free speech. That's like one of my core principles, like my fundamental principle. The freedom to say 2 + 2 = 4 is the most important thing. All else follows. In my opinion, Israel, the state of Israel, is doing all kinds of terrible things that are worthy of criticism.
Okay.
And what seems to be happening is that powerful interests, not Jewish interests per se, but like pro-Zionist interests, which includes Christian Zionists and non-Jews, are saying criticism of Israel is effectively anti-Semitism. Sebastian Gorka, deputy assistant to the president, said at a conference on
I believe you. I've debated Gorka. He's fucking retarded. I believe you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So now you have incredibly powerful people who are using the threat of anti-Semitism as a justification to we're going to censor speech. We're going to change algorithms. We're going to scrape the internet for anti-Israel sentiment, which includes, anti-Semitism, which includes anti-Israel sentiment. And then that becomes the pretense for ushering in more Chinese-style social credit score systems, infringements on free speech. So that's why I care about the issue. Sure. And here's the thing: it is absolutely the case that the reason many Jews feel a attachment to Israel, perfectly reasonably so, is because anti-Semitism is a real thing, historically, obviously. And the more that things normalize in a way where it becomes like cool to shit on Jews and all that, it increases the validity of Jews supporting Israel. And in my opinion, in order to avoid the anti-Semitism as a justification for infringing on people's speech, is we create a scenario in space where American Jews are perfectly free and are not stigmatized in any way to simply say, I'm Jewish, but Israel does not represent my interests. And there are many, many Jewish people who believe that. And many would say it's disgusting and anti-Semitic to associate someone's ethnicity with the actions of a secular state. And then, of course, there's religious Jews who support it, and there's branches of religious Jews who don't support it at all. So Nick Fuentes, I think, he said himself he's an iconoclast. His whole goal is just saying fuck you to the whole Holocaust religion type thing, the post-war consensus idea. And so he doesn't actually care about giving space for Jews to condemn Israel or not identify with it as much as they do. And all the trends post-October 7th seem to be indicating that a lot of Jews don't align themselves with Israel, especially the under 30 demographic. It's like 30% or more are anti-Israel. So it's like that trend should continue, but that can't happen if we're not allowed to say basic facts or basic observations like when Ben Shapiro says the single biggest guarantor of my loyalty to the United States is the existence of the state of Israel. That seems like dual loyalty to me. If that gets you called anti-Semitic, then what that does is that feeds into Nick Fuentes' ability and people far worse than Nick Fuentes, ability to just say, well, this just proves that it's all a conspiracy and they'll shut you down for just saying facts.
Sure.
So that's my true position.
I mean, that's fine. One of the biggest issues, though, is a lot of people that levy this criticism don't do themselves any favors. It's very hard if Nick Fuentes is your guy to levy legitimate criticisms at people with, say, dual loyalty in a way that you think is detrimental to the United States when he is also like a Holocaust revisionist, right? Like this hurts your ability to have the conversation. Yeah. If you have people who are critical of mRNA vaccines and they also think that ketogenic diets can cure Alzheimer's disease and all meat diets are the cure to, fucking every form of cancer, it hurts your ability to make those medical claims. I mean, like the people that levy these claims don't really do themselves any favors, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, true. Again, he's gaining influence, so
maybe.
Maybe. I think it's objectively true. He's gaining influence. That doesn't mean he's right. I agree.
I don't know if he's gaining. I mean, he's very popular with young people, but young people don't vote, and young people are very swingy. We saw that what was like 30 points in favor of conservatives, I think, at the beginning of this election for young men, and then I think that completely disappeared like 6 months in. Like young people change a lot. He could continue to gain influence as possible. He could moderate his views. He could become more extreme. It's hard to say, but. Yeah, but young people are very different. Yeah. Remember, Bernie Sanders was a shoo-in, the most popular Democratic figure ever. He was going to win the presidency, everything, and never materialized. So, yeah. Not writing him off one way or another, which is...
because of anti-Semitism. They wouldn't let a Jewish person...
True. The Jewish people controlling the Democrats.
I mean, Nick Fuentes, the way I see, especially people... Because I'm interested in how people discuss and contend with Nick Fuentes on the right or on the left. There was a clip of Nick saying he would join with the left and... even give up some of the abuse and cruelty on the right. And then Cenk Uygur was talking to Hassan Piker and was like, listen, if he's willing to work, like there are greater goals. And in principle, as as someone whose mind is so open, it's liable to fall out of my head. I like the idea of, the populist right and populist left joining together to get the Epstein files released, decouple U.S. influence from Israel and all that, and even do healthcare and fix the border and all that. But Nick is he is a liar. Did you see Rowan? Nick Fuentes, someone just posted a clip of Nick Fuentes talking about anime. He said, I never watch anime. Uh-huh. And then Rowan just posted a clip from like 5 years ago of Nick like doing an in-depth analysis of some anime. Sure. It's like he's lying about the most inconsequential things.
Well, but I don't know if it's like a lie or if it's just like a meme, right? Like I might say like on stream, like I fucking hate women, exactly. And people are like, no, yesterday you were defending feminism. Like, Fuentes' movement is very much like it's still like a young man's movement, like incel-y humor, like a lot of like irony, like very heavily like masculine coded, like presentation style, performance, like very exclusive to women, intentionally so. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he would say stuff like this. Yeah.
Yeah, he's deeply irony poisoned.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Look, there's a great story that I think Jeff Dunham, you know, the ventriloquist guy told, or Jeff Dunham is the ventriloquist guy. He told a story. I think it's like a generic story, but a ventriloquist is on the stage with his dummy, and the dummy starts, you know, criticizing an audience member, and the audience member is yelling at him, and the dummy's like, "You're stupid," and they're going back and forth, and then the ventriloquist tries to interject and say, "Hey, calm down, guys," and the audience member says, "Shut up, you! I'm talking to him." And it's like that's emblematic of how people are treating Nick Fuentes. It's like Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, I think Hassan Piker, you in many ways, even Donald Trump. It's like calling him an anti-Semite, a hateful person, calling him names is just attacking. He's setting up a dummy for you to attack, and then he can retreat to his Bailey of, well, Hitler's cool. It's like, well, I just meant Hitler had cool aesthetics and it's compelling and all that. You know,
sure.
And so,
although I mean, people use that because it does still work. I mean, like
what works?
Like older people, maybe once the boomer generation is gone and X is the oldest one, and you've got like millennials as the second oldest, maybe like the whole historical revisionism around the Holocaust and all that shit will be a little bit more acceptable. But I think right now, labeling somebody as a Nazi and then them owning being a Nazi or a racist or whatever, I think is enough to turn off a lot of larger, older voting demographics from like caring about you.
Okay,
and so it still works.
I 100% agree. I suppose I'm only concerned with long-term future trends. That's my primary.
Sure. I agree. You should address it. You should deal with it. Yeah. But I mean, conservatives never address or deal with anything on the left either. But our political realities have gotten pretty disconnected from each other thanks to the internet. Thanks to people like Elon Musk, who's not even Jewish. Last time I checked, I don't think. Is he?
Probably not.
If he was, yeah, then I'm the first one on the anti-Semitism train. If Elon Musk is Jewish, we got to get all these motherfuckers out of here, okay? Send them back to Hanukkah land.
Should I not have talked about Zog for as long as I did? Do you remember our debate about Zog?
I remember, yeah. I don't know how long. I don't know. Is this what did it damage your internet presence or?
No, it's far too early to tell.
Okay.
You know, it's Richard Nixon, when he was visiting China, he was talking to Chairman Mao, and they're both history buffs. And Richard Nixon asked Chairman Mao, as a way to like break the ice, "What do you think of the Battle of Waterloo?" And Chairman Mao says, "It's too early to tell." So it's too early to tell what consequences all of us will reap, and what we sow.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's interesting to me because I get accused. First of all, I get accused of being controlled opposition all the time because I explicitly state my goal is to seem anti-Semitic to then discredit from Nick Fuentes from the inside, which is meta-ironic.
Okay.
But I get, it's like, well, to say that Ben Shapiro has dual loyalty, or to say that the World Zionist Congress, the World Jewish Congress, the ADL, Chabad Ludovit, these are organized international bodies that are organized around Jewish identity. That is a real thing. So when you say, well, Jews run the world, it's like, okay, that's obviously an extreme thing. But in many ways, it's a straw man of the low there's low IQ people who say that. But it's like, well, there are powerful international organizations centered around Jewish identity that discuss what's in the interest of the Jewish community, which is again an entirely rational thing. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe this. And the problem is,
I don't know if you're aware of this. Most people talk about this, and most people can talk about this without being labeled anti-Semitic. Like generally, if you're screaming anti-Semitism, yes, absolutely. Generally, the people that are being labeled as anti-Semitic are people that are highly anti-Semitic. Everybody talks about AIPAC. Everybody talks about AIPAC. The idea that you can't talk about any of these things, like, yeah, Dershowitz or whatever will come out and call, but this guy's a fucking retard, calls everybody anti-Semitic. But most people have been critical of these types of things and taking money from AIPAC or supporting Israel. Like, it's a pretty common thing these days to do this. I think your issue is you're seeing people who might have legitimate criticism about Israel, also who are deeply anti-Semitic, like Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes, who then get called anti-Semitic when they're making real criticisms, and you're like, oh, see, this is a problem. It's like, well, no, they're like, they're problematic, and that's probably why they're being so heavily associated with it. Like, you could criticize, like the ADL's been fucking criticized forever. SPLC, the fucking yeah.
But particularly on the left, like Crystal Ball will call Nick Fuentes a Jew-hating Nazi and all that.
I mean, he kind of is, but Crystal Ball is also like a deeply anti-Israel, anti-ADL, anti-AIPAC person, though.
Right, but that's my point. Is like. Okay,
so she can do it without being anti-Semitic, and you might be calling but Nick Fuentes probably is anti-Semitic. So somebody calling Nick Fuentes anti-Semitic is not good evidence of anti-Semitism being overly used against non-anti-Semitic people, right?
I agree. I'm less concerned about. I mean, Nick Fuentes only matters insofar as he's representative of a broader ideological movement.
Sure, of people that are also probably anti-Semitic, right?
No, well, of course. Well, of course. It's like I don't know. It's sort of like what percentage of Hassan's casual viewer base actually wants to murder billionaires and would like support it?
Probably like 30%.
Okay, what do you think of Nick's casual viewer base would want to do violence against Jews?
The way that
Just
I
roughly
view
what?
neo-Nazis is, and I just haven't been in these communities for a while, but I generally don't view them as wanting to like kill Jewish people or murder them. They just want all of them out of the country, or at least all of them removed from positions of power and influence. Yeah. But like if you could push a button and like if you could ask like a Groiper, if you could push a button to deport every single Jew back to Israel in the United States, I think at least 50% of them say, yeah, get them the fuck out. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it also depends on the problem is because he has such wide range. I mean, I was at Thanksgiving and I asked my like 16-year-old cousins if they heard of Nick Fuentes. They're like, yeah, he's funny. And it's like these are not kids who would know who Karl Marx is or anything about politics at all. But they listen. But the Nick Fuentes clips show up. Shane Gillis is making jokes about Nick Fuentes clips appearing on his feed all the time. It's like, so the Nick Fuentes audience has expanded to an incredible amount of normie people. I would say of that proportion, the overwhelming majority are not genuinely anti-Semitic.
Sure, but I don't know how much of those people I would consider
don't like Israel, and they like his
for the outer ring of orbiting, like if we're expanding like rings of people that are like just aware of who Fuentes is, who've laughed at a clip of him on Instagram Reels or TikTok feeds. I don't know if I would say these people like Nick Fuentes fans, like in the same way that like I wouldn't call them like groipers, right? They're just like they've seen funny clips. I see funny clips of Nick Fuentes. He says funny shit. He's a funny guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the fucking. I'll still laugh. It was. I think your community compiles like a list of best moments at the end of the year or whatever. And there was one year where it was like, Destiny says the N-word. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good clip.
You're gonna love me. That's funny as hell. I get okay, not fans, but of the people, the proportion of people who
the too soon thing for Piers was funny. Yeah. But that do you think
Piers Morgan? Oh my god, dude!
But that was largely a good
sheer incompetence.
Well, you might perceive it that way, but that was largely a bad appearance for Nick, I would say. Like it played really well with his audience and his fans and younger people, but for older people, they probably saw that as like, wow, this guy's like problematic and crazy, not good.
Agreed. Also, it cost him in ways that even undermine him. I think even undermine his theoretically one of his long-term goals. Again, I'm not concerned about the boomers at this point.
Okay.
I'm interested in 10 years from now or more.
Sure.
I do think that interview with Piers Morgan, he basically, because like I said, you saw that clip of Chang talking to Hassan saying, like, it's not unreasonable to try and want to do coalition with Nick Fuentes. I mean, I don't know. If
maybe, but Chang and Hassan, I view they're both morally bankrupt, intellectually bankrupt.
That's fine. That's fine.
Who are also both insanely anti-Semitic, more so than Fuentes. So I hate both of these people. I generally am racist against Turkish people in general. I think Turkish people have the worst dual loyalty in the entire, more than Israel's. If you packaged Israelis and Turkish people together, I would push the button. That's, yeah. End of video game. Go ahead.
I officially condemn. I condemn hate speech.
Okay.
Point is, regardless of what you think of them, they do have large audiences. And so the prospect that a left-right populist coalition could form was there, is still there. But when Nick Fuentes goes on, Piers Morgan says, Hitler was really fucking cool. I'm tired of pretending he's not. Black people should be locked up for the most part. That's hilarious. That's based on all that. It's like he said himself, maybe us on the right, in order to compromise with the left, needs to give up the anti-white and sentiment and the open border stuff, and on the right, we need to give up like the cruelty and abuse. It's like, okay, seems reasonable. Then you go on Piers Morgan and you say, you engage in the performative cruelty that he was condemning. Say, my mom died in the Holocaust and all that. It's like, so he just undermined himself there. So he's chosen to basically be a one-dimensional, I'm an iconoclast. My only goal is to push back against this whole Holocaust as a religion thing.
Sure.
Which, and I think a lot of people can respect that and appreciate that. I'm sick and tired of Israel invoking the Holocaust to justify ethnic cleansing in Gaza. It's like it's a joke. And people are far more pissed off and concerned with Benjamin Netanyahu than they are with Nick Fuentes. Sure. And it's sort of like,
I will say though, just as a thing, one, that's not necessarily their geopolitical justification for it. I understand you're saying that like this is the public facing thing they put up, but like this isn't unique to Jews or Israel, right? Doesn't everybody kind of do this? Like black people talk about slavery, women talk about indentured servitude in the household and lack of voting, and everybody has their struggle, their grind, their But
it's typical woke tactics.
Sure.
That's why Douglas Murray, James Lindsay, and the pro-Israel right are the true woke right, which we talked about last time. We don't have to talk about now.
Sure. But I mean, nobody's a bigger victim than Trump. Every time he gets up and speaks, he talks about how Biden victimized him, his FBI victimized him, everybody victimized him, the deep state's after him. Everybody likes to be a victim because it gives them unlimited actions that they can do with no accountability because they're always responding to somebody's done worse. Yeah.
Yes, he's a whiny bitch, and that speech he gave a couple days ago was just him shitting on Biden. It's like pathetic. But I do think, one of the things that gives Nick powers is the fact that people like they like the iconoclasm. Which, when you went on, like, for example, when you went on Piers Morgan and they asked you to condemn the Trump shooter, you were like, in front of these people? No, fuck you guys. Now, many people would say, well, that means you truly hate Donald Trump and conservatives, which I will not speculate on your motives. But the point is, there were many people who I actually don't think want to see conservatives killed, who respected what you did because you were saying, look, fuck your frame. I'm not buying into I'm not buying into the frame of my hypocritical political opponents like Dave Rubin, who celebrated Paul Pelosi's head getting bashed in. I'm not going to sit here and condemn violence in front of these people. I think that's what Nick Fuentes is doing just with the post-war consensus type stuff. It's like, look, I'm just not going to sit here. That's why he said I'm going to own the term racist and all that.
Sure.
And, the Holocaust is not my religion and all that stuff. And so I think a lot of people respect that. And my point is there are valid reasons to respect that. Like I said, Israel invokes the Holocaust. Like, it's not unique to Israel that they're doing these things. What's unique is the degree to which, anti-Semitism is considered the ultimate sin, even more so than just racism against black people. That's why they always talk about racism and anti-Semitism as if they're two separate things. And
I mean, anti-Semitism is unique, but I think we have more sensitivities to black people than Jewish people in the U.S., right? Like DEI wasn't about Jewish people. BIPOC wasn't created for Jewish people. The rewriting of American history wasn't about Jewish people. Like all of this stuff is about black people, and affirmative action wasn't about Jewish people. Like all these big court cases, all the big DEI and woke and SJW stuff, basically all of it was centered around black people and black issues, not Jewish people.
Sure, but I think you can totally be a mainstream Republican and criticize black culture or Muslims. But if you criticize Jewish people, there's a sudden that's now out of the mainstream. I mean, Ben Shapiro hired Candace Owens for the.
Well, yeah, but it's just you got to be careful with what we're talking about there, right? Because when conservatives, if I look a little, let's say I buy the dog whistle, when conservatives are influencing. Or when they're criticizing black culture, they're not criticizing black people. They're criticizing thug culture and gangsters and single-parent households and murder, right? Yeah. So to say you're criticizing Jewish culture, that's a weird. We'd have to be very careful about what we're drawing analogies to.
Would say he's not criticizing Jewish people. He's criticizing, the degree to which they organize it.
Sure, you can, but man, you've almost destroyed any legitimate argument you can salvage here because you're traveling with so much bad company here with all of your other claims. Right? Like it's almost going to be impossible. And when almost every single one of these people seems to be doing that, it seems like you're running into a pattern that I think a lot of people pick up on. And then it becomes very, very hard to push back against said pattern because so many of the people are traveling with bad companions here than themselves.
Yes, 100%. There's nothing that undermines your own ideological interests than the freaks on your own cause.
No. When I say, I'm sorry, that's why I said their own people. They're travelers, they're bad companions of their own beliefs. If I come out and I want to be critical of mRNA vaccines, and I'm also a super vegan, I'm also a super meat-only diet or whatever, I have all these other crazy beliefs, the mRNA criticisms are going to get tossed to the wind. Maybe even rightfully so, because I have so many other crazy beliefs, So when all of your anti-Israel people, or heavily critical against Israeli or Jewish interest in the United States people, are also all seemingly anti-Semitic and are saying that Churchill was the bad guy in World War II and that the Holocaust numbers are probably an order of magnitude higher than they actually are, and it's like, okay, well, fuck, did we take any of this seriously, I guess at that point, exactly. They've sunk themselves, sure.
Yeah, this is my point, is that I think Nick if Nick chose to, he could actually, start building or at least laying the groundwork for coalitions between the right and left, but he instead chose to say, no, I'm racist, I don't give a fuck, and I'm here I never apologize, I'm never going to buy into my enemy's frame, so fuck it, and I will
Well, I
never
think
concede. Even if
I
those
would like to
concessions were
separate
actually-
out some things. I think and I actually prefer, first of all, let me just express a huge annoyance. Just put a pin in this conversation where we're at right now. Okay, I hate all of the meta conversations about rhetoric and shit, and that we can't have conversation about any substance anymore. It's all about like, how do you frame the, that's just so annoys me so much. This isn't your fault, but it's just this what this conversation is. I will say on a substance level, I would prefer somebody like Fuentes to say, I am racist. Let's talk about crime, because we would have a better conversation about crime than conservatives claiming they're not racist, and then left-leaning people who are too afraid to do any talk about crime enforcement and don't want to be, and it's just fucking retarded. So if Nick wants to own the I'm racist, let's lock, like, that's the thing that I can do this with every left-leaning person I talk about. It's the first question when we talk about crime. It's like, why do you think more black people are in prison per capita than white people? And you'll get 25 different answers before you can get them to admit it's because they commit more crime per capita. If we don't understand that, then we're lost,
yes.
right? That's fine. But that's of a different nature. It's a fundamentally different thing than like the anti-Semitism. Then the clean break memo or whatever is why we went to war with Iraq and Libya and everything else, and why 9/11 happened and the dancing Israelis were there, and why the USS Liberty was attacked.
Right.
These are fundamentally different types of things.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. You're engaging. Yes, you're taking the enlightened centrist position between, yes, we can acknowledge straight up that black people commit more crime. That does not. We're not going to get into like IQ genetics. There's a clear, reasonable middle ground.
Sure.
Okay. All I'm saying is we need to carve out that middle ground with, like, when it comes to anti-Semitism. It's like Ben Shapiro says. Ben Shapiro seems to have dual loyalty to Israel. Yes. Look, here's the clip. Here's Larry Ellison. Here's Miriam Adelson. I mean, the clips of Donald Trump talking about Miriam Adelson, who's the second biggest donor besides Elon Musk, saying, I asked Miriam if she loves Israel or the U.S. more, and she didn't answer. I'm going to guess that means she loves Israel. That's a direct quote from Donald Trump.
Sure.
So it's like, yes, all that's true. This does not mean that therefore all Jews are suspect, or that it's somehow it's somehow unreasonable for people to care more about Israel and the United States.
Sure.
But there's a reasonable middle ground of, okay, but that means we can critique and say, actually, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to say it's not in U.S. interests for Larry Ellison to be dictating the TikTok algorithm when he's explicitly stated, I'm going to,
Well, maybe. I mean, if
Israel
he's
unequivocally.
if he's a U.S. citizen and he's got U.S. money and that's what he decides to support, I mean, that's on him to do it, right?
Okay, but if you had a Russian dual citizen who was the second biggest donor to Donald Trump, and influencing the media in a way that biased coverage in favor of Russia, is it not understandable that would represent a
I
conflict
prefer
of
that
interest?
to the covert shit that they do now. I would say that it would be
Prefer that to the
problematic.
covert
I would say
stuff
that it would
they
be
do now.
problematic
I don't know
because I would, well, like for all of the covert stuff that Russia does to try to influence our elections.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but
The issue that I have with that comparison, the intuition that you're hinting at here is because Russia is very clearly opposed to U.S. interests. Israel is still in a weird middle ground where even if we say they do some things that might be opposite U.S. interests with relation to the war in Gaza, we very clearly favor the Israeli, Saudi Arabian access to now just the Iranian one. Like that's still like a very clear favoring of most Americans ideologically, whether they know it or not, and definitely most of the American political establishment. Now, if that changes, then maybe that would change in the future, but that's still something that's going to be true. So somebody that has like Israeli interested in an American who's Israeli interested, well, most Americans are going to be Israeli interested, even if they're not Israeli or Jewish, just by virtue of that conflict right there. Not to say that that can't change in the future, but yeah.
okay, yeah, again, and the geopolitical debate is one thing, but again, my point is, it is indisputable that there are people who are saying criticism of Israel is a form of Jewish. Again, Sebastian Gorka, in Trump circles.
Yeah, there are some people that say that they're losers. Fuck them, but they don't prevent any of the conversation from happening.
It's not just they're losers. These are powerful people who have the capacity to do exactly what they're saying, which is we're going to institute technological and policy interventions to address anti-Semitism, and then they lump criticism of Israel under anti-Semitism.
Yes, and I agree
That's the problem at hand.
But the problem is the fact that they even have the tool to do that, and the problem is MAGA. That's the issue there, and it's like a group of.
Look, Trump is the most zogged out candidate of all time. Okay?
I wish if he was zogged out, it would be even better than whatever the fuck we have right now. He's just narcissistic out, and he's a retard. That's the issue. But it's like you have an issue with like Austria. Or they're making Glocks that are that a whole bunch of like stormtroopers are now like we're going to go and kill Americans with Glocks, and the Glock manufacturer's like, yes, like this is good. We also want to kill Americans. Like, well, the problem isn't the Glocks. The problem is the stormtroop people that are running around killing Americans. They might be using Glocks, but like they could use any other gun. You know, if you want to say that some Jewish people have too much power over media or whatever else, they've been granted this power via MAGA. And the issue is that MAGA even has the ability to dole this out, or that they have so much widespread support. And I don't think that widespread support is necessarily granted by Israel. Although if you want to make that argument, then we have to take a step further back and go there. But yeah, I mean, I like whatever problems.
I'm not sure I followed that, but I don't think I disagree.
As in the issues that we have right now. So there's a lot of like weird shit that on the surface is like pro-Israel in a negative way. So like the deportations for students that were protesting for Gaza, or making your visas or your student visas contingent upon what seemed to basically be your support for Israel, I think is really weird and stupid and bad. The obsession with anti-Semitism around the college stuff. I don't know. Did they pass a bill in the House, like a House resolution condemning anti-Semitism, retarded shit like this? Like, I think these are bad and stupid things, but I don't view these as like Jewish people enforcing their power. I view this as MAGA and Donald Trump using Jews as like a useful tool to further their own agenda. And I think that agenda is really bad.
Okay. Sure. I guess I care about the effect, whether it's one framing or the other. If the effect is certain things cannot be said because they get labeled as anti-Semitic when they are objectively true, like, hey, it seems like Ben Shapiro, owner and or you know, a major stakeholder and operator of one of the largest conservative media companies, seems to have more loyalty to Israel than the United States. If you can't say that, or that falls under, well, this is the kind of stuff that's anti-Semitic.
Sure, we can say that, and we can say that, and that might be problematic. I think it's okay to say that. I think that we can even say that's problematic. However problematic that is, Elon Musk, his acquisition of X and his relationship with Donald Trump is 100 times more problematic. Elon Musk has destroyed X as a platform. Like, I'm so close, and I'm still have to sit down and think about it this year to finally start telling my audience I'm killing my account on this. I don't think any of you should engage in this platform because it's so botted. It's so fucked. I think so. Yeah, but this is like a multi-billion-dollar, $44 billion purchase to further the interests of just one man, of the president of the United States, by arguably the richest man in the world, who controls SpaceX, that we use for satellites and space-related stuff, who controls Tesla, who is arguably on his way to becoming the world's first trillionaire. Like, this is so much more like Jewish people look at Elon Musk and they wish that they were this greedy and long-nosed and influential, and they're not, right? And this guy can't even keep it together. This guy's fucking ketted out of his fucking mind, like through no political savvy of his own. He gets Doge. If there was like a fucking Doge, some Jewish organization going through the government with the level of access that Elon Musk have, Jewish people would fucking dream of this level of access, that they could audit the prior ownership of Twitter's files like Elon Musk let Barry Weiss and Schellenberger and all these hack fuck losers do. Like, these are problems. I agree with this, like the Jew thing, and I think it's cringe that some people retreat to the anti-Semitism thing. I think that is cringe, but my God, MAGA is so much more fucking protected by the whole media establishment right now. Look at this fucking Barry Weiss 60 Minutes thing. This is insane. Jewish people wish they had this much control over the media. I get a little suspect when people really want to hyperfixate on like we can't say anti-Semitic things. Like, bro, everybody says anti-Semitic shit now. Who the fuck cares? Yeah.
It's not his question. I don't know. You might have an answer. What speech is Elon Musk directly clamping down on?
What speech is he directly clamping down on?
That's what I have the issue with the Sebastian Gorkas and the anti-Semitism as a national security threat crowd.
So I would say that he destroyed X as a platform. So whatever speech was flourishing there has been severely degraded.
Yeah, but is there a specific set of ideas that are true that he has said explicitly or implied or?
I mean, he's like very broadly on like the white identitarian, white nationalist movement stuff. But he's like such a shallow human being that it's hard to even. What?
He's trying to censor that?
No. He very broadly promotes it. He does it on his own account. He does it through other political figures. He coordinates and collabs with Tommy Robinson, I think, and he supports the is it the ADF or whatever in Germany? Like, he's very like broadly
AFT
or AF. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Okay. Those are. There's two things. One, that's a separate question of what is the validity in that. The second is. It's not about my concern.
Hold on, stop. Wait. I just want to put a clear thing in here just because it's good to establish reality sometimes, because conservatives don't live in reality all the time. The claim all the time from the far right or from MAGA or from the right was that all of these outlets were liberal, biased outlets. And they always claimed this without evidence. The articles could lean liberal, for sure, and the pundits are for sure liberal. But like to say that like Bezos and Zuckerberg are outwardly massive liberal supporters, that was always just speculation or taken to be self-evidently true, but not really justified. Elon Musk is outwardly and openly supportive of every anti-liberal party he can find in Europe, of every white identitarian movement that he can find, and was able to convince in the White House them to create like special TBS exceptions for South Africans to come in and claim asylum while he was spamming YouTube and Twitter videos to the South African president or whatever, part of which weren't even true in trying to open these asylum things. So I just want to be clear that like Elon Musk was uniquely a partisan hack compared to any other large media owner that I'm aware of, except for maybe like Murdoch or whatever. I don't even know if Rupert Murdoch was that openly politically partisan, but yeah.
Okay, well, there's definitely a lot of truth in what you're saying. Again, my fundamental concern though is not someone supports a particular idea. The single greatest threat to democracy, which is very sacred, but free speech more importantly, is saying certain ideas must be clamped down because they are anti-Semitic or they lead to violence.
Yeah, that's not true.
A direct claim.
That's not true at all. The greatest threat to freedom of speech is to destroy a person's ability to discern what's being said. That's the number one aspect of speech, is to communicate an idea, and when people can no longer hear or understand the ideas, speech has been eliminated.
That's fair. Fine.
I say this because it sounds like a philosophically deep claim, but the truth of the matter is that if I go to a platform and I want to censor all of the women there, I could ban all the women from the platform, and that would very clearly and obviously be wrong, and people could attack me for it. Or I could subtly just boost all of the anti-women people on the platform and claim I'm adhering to the principles and tenets of free speech. And then people like you would defend that, when in reality I'm just as anti-free speech as before, except now I have more protections because of the way that I'm operating. And it's a very real thing that happens. It's a very true thing that happens. You see it with Donald Trump, for instance, suing political figures that he doesn't like, that release polls about him that he doesn't like, right? Is that anti-free speech? Well, he's not necessarily censoring the speech. He's exercising his freedom of speech, right? That's why I make that distinction. It's an important one.
Or like the whole, look, the fucking Jimmy Fallon thing was, I think, disgusting and Pam Bondi said, what is it? Or the hate speech thing? There's a difference between free speech and hate speech. It's like, are you demented? Are you demented? So you'll get no pushback from me on that. I guess my point is, the fact that this is also bad does not change the fact that it is bad that the Trump administration, under the guise of anti-Semitism, is clamping down free speech. It sounds like we agree on that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not just anti-Semitism. There's all sorts of speech that they clamp down on. It's anything that goes against Trump's interests, basically. Yeah.
Yes, but in our culture, anti-Semitism occupies a unique level of. It's like it's the fundamental sin, the fundamental evil.
I mean, I don't think so as much. I think that.
Well, okay, fair enough. This is not a.
Sure. I know that some people are really fixated on it. I think
there's like heard the term post-war consensus.
No, but from what you're saying, I'm guessing it has to do with the bipolar powers that emerged, or the multipolar world that emerged after the Soviet world, where the West were the good guys and Israel had the Holocaust, and so Jews have to be protected, and all this bullshit or whatever that entrenched American interests.
Yeah, it's basically just the religion of the West.
Sure.
We don't have Jesus and Satan. Nobody believes in God. Well, not nobody, but secular West didn't believe in God anymore. So Hitler became Satan. The Holocaust became hell. And
okay. I haven't heard this.
Anti-Semitism became the original sin.
Then, but okay. Sure.
Yeah, this is people like Jonathan Peugeot, Yoram Horzani, several other people. Tom Holland, not Tom Holland the actor. Tom Holland the
why? Maybe Spider-Man
Christian
has
historian,
some strong.
Who
film.
Sam Harris is a fan of.
Okay.
But anyway, and so I just think, look, I guess well, first off, I'm always following my curiosity, so I am interested in your assessment of these things, and it does seem like people are recognizing more. Yeah, we can't. The pearl clutching has to stop.
Yeah, but it's just so much like pearl clutching about pearl clutching too. Like, if you want to be critical of Israel, just be critical of Israel. Like, if more people would just do this, I feel like people would just have the conversation. Like, if I just say, like, we need to
do what?
Just like be critical of Israel and be critical of people who you think are.
I agree.
Yeah. How about
you'd think that, but I don't know. Fair. I mean,
here's what I'd be curious, and I'm not going to push on this now, but like for our next conversation, or if you want, we could schedule one or whatever. For our next conversation, find me examples of like, here are people that are making really strong, valid criticisms of Israeli policy or Israeli U.S. Stuff or whatever.
Brett Weinstein, Gabor Mate.
Oh man.
You're anti-Semitic. You don't like Brett Weinstein.
I gotta go. Hold on. I need to get an HP pack because you just did psychic damage bringing up those two names.
There's only one reason
one second. Hold
why
on.
someone wouldn't like someone with the last name Weinstein.
Oh God. Hold on 1 sec. Wait 1 sec. I use the restroom 1 sec.
Okay. For everyone watching, if you have not seen Rowan's recent video called, I think it's 2035, Nick's Final Broadcast. Open up a new tab, type in Rowan, Roenn, and go watch that because it's phenomenal. And it conveys in artistic form what cannot be conveyed in propositional form.
Okay, I'm here. I hate both of those motherfuckers so much, but and they're probably both anti-Semitic too. But probably not. No, the Weinstein guy can't be because he's just fucking retarded. But I hate both those people. Sorry. Okay, I'm here. What's up?
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry.
You want to talk about a different issue?
Sure. Or yeah, I just think levy criticisms at Israel if you want, and then see what happens from there. I do it with like crime shit. Like we should like spot crime enforcement is valuable. There's a decent amount of validity to the concept of like broken windows policing. Not all disproportionate policing is
You mean
racism.
like stop and frisk?
No. Like high crime areas should have more cops enforcing crime there than like sending cops throughout an entire city is fucking retarded. Even if it results in a disproportionate amount of enforcement, even if it results in a disproportionate amount of arrests, even if it results in a per capita disproportionate amount of arrests, if the per capita crime committing rates are the exact same between races, it's still probably a good way to use law enforcement in a city. And that if you want to seek to rectify any inequities that exist in society, it can't be at the crime enforcement level. At that point, you're too late. So like these are conversations you can have. I feel comfortable having these conversations with anybody. I mean, obviously not everybody will talk to me, but like I think you could have these. But I also think it's pretty clear when I'm speaking. I'm not a racist person. I don't hate most black people, just like I don't hate some Jewish people, and I don't hate most Israelis, whatever. So I think I have like the leeway. I have the credibility to talk about these things. But if I spent all of my time on stream, opining about race realism and inbred genetic IQ differences and everything else, and I was like, now let's talk about crime. Well, yeah, people are going to look at me like a little bit weird. You're like, well, okay, because it's going to be a little bit sussy baka at that point, which is fair, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Listen, it would never. I don't ever want you to ever call yourself an enlightened centrist. Okay?
Good. I'm not.
Exactly.
Thank
You're
you.
not.
Okay.
But you continue to embody the archetype of enlightened centrism exactly as you do right there.
Okay.
Liberalism. It's failed, Destiny.
Has it though?
According to Patrick Deneen.
Oh shit! I didn't know
Professor
Patrick
at
Deneen
University
said
of
it.
Notre Dame.
Okay.
We read a book for our book club.
Yeah.
That Obama said was a phenomenal book.
Okay.
Called Why Liberalism Failed.
Okay.
And basically the gist of it is, if you don't have any other moral principles other than let's maximize individual, I'm referring to social liberalism, not necessarily like three branches of government power distribution.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, social liberalism. If your moral principles maximize individual autonomy, you don't have a leg to stand on to go after certain things.
True.
So I'll go with the extreme example.
Anti-Semitism. Oh, sorry. Just kidding.
Right. Because Richard Hanania defended this.
My king.
We can use YouTube-friendly language. AI CSAM.
Based. Okay. Not based. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. My bad. Go ahead.
Right. So the argument is, so people were defending this online, saying, well, someone said, a court had ruled that AI CSAM is okay, and someone quote tweeted it, and Richard Hanania was peripherally involved with this. What on earth is wrong with this? The whole reason we're against CSAM is because it hurts the children, it exploits the children. But in this case, no one is being exploited, which I think is deranged and demented. What is the? Well, first off, do you think? Maybe I should have asked this beforehand. I don't know. Do you think AI CSAM should be illegal?
That's a really hard one. There are certain laws that I actually find really difficult to justify, like logically, like formal logically justification from like philosophy to law. When you look at the other behavior that exists in society. So the two things that I have the biggest problem with are like animal cruelty laws and child pornography laws. So for instance, I think it's very interesting to say that like it's illegal to abuse your dog, but you can eat food that comes from factory farming. Much the same that it's interesting that it's illegal to look at child pornography, but you can go on watchpeopledie.tv and watch endless videos of people being literally torture murdered and executed. If I were to venture a guess, why intuitively does one feel so much wronger than the other? It's probably because when you are, if you're abusing an animal or if you're engaging in watching child pornography, there is a sense of enjoyment that no decent human being should be getting out of it. When somebody eats a cheeseburger, they're not enjoying the suffering of the animal, they're enjoying a cheeseburger. When somebody abuses a dog, they must be a sociopath. Much the same, maybe there's a morbid curiosity or weirdness around watching people getting killed or murdered, although a lot of people, more people than I think many people would have an intuition, would probably be okay with like making that illegal to watch. But for enjoying child pornography, there is no curious enjoyment there. You just must be a sociopath to enjoy that. So I feel like that's intuitively, that's why these laws are justified. But I guess like you're going to go on to make the point from like a broad liberal perspective, it's hard to like build out a philosophical argument there that would match our intuitions such that like liberalism has arguably failed here to supply us an answer that satisfies our intuitive ethical feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. What you're describing is a cultivation of vice argument.
Okay.
And that like if you do something that is immoral and disgusting, even if it doesn't hurt anyone in the moment, you poison your psyche in such a way that it eventually leads you to doing terrible things.
Well,
like pulling the wings off flies and all that. It's like, or abusing an animal. You do that over and over again. What doors does that open for you in the future?
Sure,
And
that's an
same with
ethical
AI
argument
systems.
more than a legal one, though. Because then I would ask, like,
I
what
agree.
about
This is not a
Sure,
I'm making a legal one.
Sure. Well, you brought up because you
underlying
brought up
philosophy
like the CSAM and should it be legal or not? But yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying should it be legal within the bounds of our current legal framework. I'm saying philosophically, within the liberal framework, what is the argument against it? If no one is being exploited or harmed, and it's not animals, so it's not even like a conscious being, whatever type thing, but what is the argument against AI CSAM within the liberal framework without invoking some kind of conservative morality, basically? Because I don't think you can argue against it unless you invoke a principle that is not liberal.
Well, I don't know if I would say liberal framework is necessarily one that, like, I think the liberal framework can emerge from a variety of different moral philosophy. And I don't think I would argue there's like a conservative ethics. I mean, there are like morals or ethics that are heavily associated with conservatism. We're getting a little bit
maybe
in the weeds on that, but like,
I guess
yeah.
I'm putting forward as a definition, contingent definition for this conversation.
Sure.
Liberalism is the moral philosophy that posits that the highest moral good, that the way that we appraise behaviors is determining whether or not it increases or infringes upon individual autonomy.
Yeah, I mean, moral. You could say that liberals from a liberal framework, like the age of consent exists, or the age of majority, and that's not just applied to sex. It's applied to like signing contracts or entering business deals or doing, or buying a car or whatever. All related to signing contracts, right? And liberals can broadly defend the idea that minors should have a restriction on their autonomy and rights because they don't have all those same privileges and responsibilities.
Correct.
And everything. Yeah, and then that could easily extend to like the CSAM thing, like you shouldn't be recording these people engaged in sexual acts because it's not something they can consent to. Yeah.
Right. The argument is because it's AI generated, it eliminates the part where the children themselves are getting harmed.
Sure. I mean, like boring, let's get rid of the boring argument. Then the boring argument is that, well, what if you have to train it on a data set of real child porn that would make it unlike, right?
Correct, which is wrong. Someone made that point. I'm like, you can have a bear playing Xbox.
So let's just
it actually was trained on bears and Xboxes.
So we can toss that one because that's
People
stupid,
don't know
right?
what they're talking about.
But let's assume it doesn't need like a real training set or whatever else. I mean, you could
it's just regular porn, and then it just replaces it with children.
Yeah, you could just justify it based on the fact that like you feel like it would lead to future harms because people would begin engaging with this material in a pornographic way, and then they would go down the road.
Cultivation of vice.
Sure, I guess.
Okay, but then that opens the door to, all right, well, what other things now are like, what other things can we make illegal?
Yeah, we do for tons of things, right? Drugs.
Yeah, right. And I think most people have this. This is my point. This is why I do. I think the liberal, like, there needs to be something more clearly articulated that I think a lot of conservative and post-liberal thinkers have acknowledged, less so the Richard Hanania liberals. of like there needs to be something else. It can't just be freedom.
Of course.
There needs to be some. Yeah, but then the question is, what is that? Is it like, and there's like it's an argument of virtue, but now we're deciding, well, what's virtuous and what not.
For sure.
Because the liberal answer is, well, everyone gets to decide what's virtuous as long as it doesn't harm anyone else. It's like, no, we need something else. We need something else. We need like a moral system and a point to guide us. And currently we don't have that. Liberalism kind of undermines that.
Yeah, liberalism is like it's like hiking gear or whatever. Like you still need a hiker. Like the gear is not going to climb itself. It just enables a bunch of people to climb the maybe or scuba gear or whatever else, whatever snow gear, whatever. Right? Liberalism is not a morality. Liberalism is just a framework by which we organize socially that hopefully can incorporate a ton of different moralities inside of it. Now, some governmental frameworks, as part of the framework, almost beg a morality or automatically incorporate a morality inside of it, which makes the question like very easy. So like for your caliphates, right, your Islamist ideologies that incorporate their religion into their social and governmental framework, well, that's a very easy question. You always have like a common purpose. You're united. For fascist countries or for heavily like socialist or communist countries, arguably single party rule authoritarian states, like incorporate this kind of like social morality into the government. For liberalism, the reason why it has such a big strength is that it can incorporate so many different types of people, but somehow get them to work together in the same framework. But you can run into the issue of, well, the government is not giving you that strong social fabric that other forms of governments might be giving you automatically. So now you have to find it on your own. And if you assume it's going to come from the system itself, you're going to become very lost and very nihilistic very quickly. And sometimes people are a little bit scared to prescribe a morality because it feels anti-liberal to do so. But the answer is somewhere in there for that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I guess but the problem is it's not, and I get like liberalism is pluralistic. It allows to some degree that's true. But again, if it's pluralistic in a way that, hey, your neighbor is watching AI CSAM, you are now heading down a path of creating psychological degenerates. And there's even like transhuman stuff of like, I saw a service that allows you to create digital AI avatars of your dead family and friends.
Okay.
It's like that should be illegal.
Okay.
We'll say why. Because if we live in a world where mentally ill people are surrounded by digital avatars of their dead family and friends, we're creating a world of psychopaths. And there's just something profane about that we should avoid because it will destroy just...
Sure, and I mean these are opinions you can have, but like we have to argue.
Yeah, but you can't argue from that within the social liberal framework.
Yeah, you can.
Meaning the individual autonomy thing.
No, you can. There's a ton of drugs are a great example of things that we've totally deprived individuals of. How the fuck can the government tell me I'm not allowed to do fucking ecstasy? That's crazy. I should be allowed to do as much MDMA as I want. That's wild to me. That I could get arrested for that.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, of course. The fuck?
Do you think heroin should be legal?
I would argue, yeah, although maybe more restrictions or maybe more difficulty to access or whatever bullshit. But like, yeah, I mean, like if we're talking within like a liberal framework and individuals have the right to pursue these types of things, I think arguably, yeah.
Okay, well, we would disagree. I mean, even in Portugal, first off, I think in Oregon they did that and then repealed it. But there's confounding variables there that you can't necessarily.
Sure, but people in Oregon are fucking losers, so.
True. But in Portugal, it's worked out much better, as far as I know from my research on it. But they still force people to do treatment sometimes.
Yeah, I think you should. I do believe.
But that's technically outside of the social liberal. Again,
I don't agree. I think you have to be careful not to, because sometimes people play this game. Leftists do this a lot, where they're like, everything bad comes from capitalism. You're like, oh, well, what about the increase in standard of living? You know, we got things like, we have a minimum wage, and they're like, oh no, those things are socialism. And it's like, okay, well, what about like all these employees that are making so much more money now, and that was guaranteed by a socialist aspect of the government.
Of course,
so we can't say that like all the good things that liberalism has given us, well, that's not liberalism.
I'm not
that's
saying that at all.
Sure.
No.
Okay, my bad.
My point. I agree. Liberalism got us to the greatest point, arguably, in human history in terms of like flourishing and economic wealth. But it just becomes a diminishing returns thing to a point of negative returns. It's like the same system that got us all these marginal returns, but started to diminish. And now we're in the point of like actually we're innovating new things that are actually making life worse.
Sure.
And my point is, if we continue down that trajectory, that's bad. And within the social liberal, which is effectively a libertarian, I mean, I would use those identically, like social liberalism, maximizing individual autonomy, is essentially a social libertarian policy or philosophy. There needs to be something outside of it. And it seems to me that the things that speak to people's intuitions that are outside of it are basically conservative or religious traditional.
I just totally reject this like conservative, socially liberal. Like I think that liberalism is a form of governance, and I think the idea of respecting the edge of individual autonomy, that's not like a moral statement. That's like a blanket statement you have to make in order to assume underneath you multiple competing moral frameworks. That's how that works. So for instance, two people might be ideologically opposed on the matter of gay marriage, but liberalism can incorporate both of those people to work together in the same society. Liberalism is not making a moral statement about gay marriage. It's just creating the framework by which both people can exist. So liberalism can incorporate, can allow people to ban CSAM and ban child porn or not, or do whatever. But if you're looking to that government framework for your morality, you're going to have a big problem. And I do agree, by the way, that a lot of people do this, and it is problematic. And I think that's where some of your intuition is coming from, where it's like, well, how is liberalism going to solve XYZ problems? And I'm telling you, well, it's not a moral system, and that feels stupid to you because there are some people that maybe do appeal to it as a moral system. And I agree that is an issue when people do that. Yeah, and you feel lost and nihilistic when you do that sometimes. Yeah.
It's fair. Okay, I ran into the same issue with Connor. Counterpoints. Yeah, I guess I'm putting
ran into what
forward
issue?
When I'm defining liberalism, I'm defining it in a different way, because I agree with you that like the checks and balance system and some level of pluralism is good and necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I am putting forward liberalism as social liberalism, that which puts individual autonomy over all else. But I understand.
Well, but when
I'm
you
not
say
gonna
that,
let you define it in such a way that obviously makes it bad when there's other good things.
Well, I'm just saying. My question is, when you say social liberalism defines individuality above all else, like are taxes part of social liberalism, or social security, or all forms of welfare, or public transportation? Because these all exist, right?
Yeah. But again, the neoliberalism, the economic model, is about low taxes and deregulation. So that is kind of the point. Well, but the opposite. I mean, you could say socialism when the government does stuff, but like it is technically more economically anti-liberal to put money in like a universal healthcare type thing, because that's individual autonomy.
Well, if you're going to define it that strictly, I guess maybe, but then that's even further away from moral philosophy, I guess. But
this is what a lot of the post-liberal Patrick Deneen. You know Dave the Distributist by any chance?
Nope. What does he distribute?
Post-liberal thinking.
What a loser.
And then even J.D. Vance, I think, operates by this framework. This is how they're defining liberalism. So at minimum, if it helps clarify things like, well, liberalism has failed because this and this. Obviously, they can also be sneaking in like other stuff like.
Yeah, I would say when I hear somebody say,
hold on, you're right. No, hold on. You're 100% right, because there's also there's liberalism, social liberalism. That's, what I'm coming from. Then there's we need a single chief unitary executive to, take like Caesarian authority, which is explicitly a political thing. So yes, there is that too.
Yeah, like I would say when people are saying liberalism has failed, what they're actually saying is they don't like a lot of the underlying moral philosophies that are kind of flourishing in our current society, and they would prefer to choose others. That's why they don't often say that like liberalism is failed or bad. They would say we need to go back to the liberalism we had in the 50s and 60s. That was better, because there were different moral philosophies that were more prominent at the time.
Yeah, because the argument is that, like, well, many classical liberals, who we call classical liberals now, said specifically, this only works if the populace is like free in the positive freedom sense, like the original Socrates classic liberty, or like classical definition of liberty, which is like self-restraint. Liberty meant the ability to self-govern, like having virtue and being free from hedonism is liberty. Hedonism was seen as the opposite of liberty.
Okay.
So, but it transformed over the last couple centuries to, well, no, liberty just meant freedom to do whatever you want. That's my point. But yes, you are right that then there's a direct attacks on the political system, which is a separate thing. I'm much more. I don't have a strong opinion on it, but I'm certainly open to the possibility that our current government system, as it's set up, in its noble effort to resist tyranny, it just becomes a type 1, type 2 error thing. The rigidity that allows it to prevent tyranny also makes it rigid enough where it's not able to adapt quick enough to the problems at hand, whether it's AI, environmental, whatever.
Okay.
And so the idea that you do need a FDR-like figure who comes in with sweeping executive authority to change things so the system can get back on track, I'm open to that possibility. Of course, that the idea that doesn't also carry a significant amount of risk, if not more risk than the rigidity itself, people who say that are demented.
How
But
do you
I'm-
say?
I'm-
How do you say?
I'm-
I'm curious. How do you say liberalism has failed and not the people have failed, or the culture has failed, or technology has failed? Why is it liberalism
what
that
I
gets
would-
the blame there?
Because I think when people talk about, I guess it just becomes I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be using these terms. I mean, I'm just positing that as a definition of liberalism. I mean,
The only
word liberal
reason why I
means-
asked this is because so I would have believed. I would have publicly stated, well, I wouldn't have lied. I would have said, I would say, oh, technocracies are bad ideas because they overrepresent some people, and those people might have blind spots around certain issues and blah, 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 right? But I'd say, well, I don't know. But honestly, maybe a technocracy would be a good thing if we had more competent people in different areas of government. I've totally wiped away that now. I don't know if people are capable of making those judgments or evaluations based on how I've seen how absolutely fundamentally retarded, Andreessen, or well, you might like these people, sorry. I would say, broadly speaking, the crypto finance tech community has acted
Thank you for not offending me. I
with
appreciate
regards
that.
to politics. I would say I have no faith in a technocracy now. So I guess if there was this area that I could identify of hyper competent people and they were ready to take the reins on government and do all these things, but then for some reason liberalism was preventing them from doing it and not the people, and we just switched the government, this would be better. I'm just not fully convinced that switching the government here or switching from liberalism to something else, what do you think we could switch from liberalism to that would ameliorate some, a lot of the problems that you think we're facing
You're
today?
right. Yeah. Yes. I agree with you on all this.
Sure.
It's not clear to me. Well, first off, again, I'm using the terms that these, Patrick Deneen is a fairly mainstream thinker within the conservative movement. And they use the term post-liberals and all that. I think a lot of post-liberalism is just essentially trying to rescue original liberalism from itself. It's not actually trying to move into something entirely new. Some people are putting, the Curtis Yarvin patchwork state or whatever, it's that, okay, that's demented. And the idea of just a pure monarch is goofy. But
Sure.
again, the point about FDR acting like a monarch, there is absolutely some level of truth to that.
Is it though? Didn't he have super majorities in both halves of Congress, and the American public was broadly hungry for this type of reformation after everything that happened?
Well, I can't muster the best historical argument around, but it's certainly the case that, for example, what was the meme that is always cited, the switch in time to save 9 or something like that, where basically FDR, he did his fireside chats as any good monarch populist does, and he said something like, I'm going to pack the court for every judge over the age of 75 because historically that's been the age limit we put on things. When in reality, the only reason he was doing that is because the judges that happen to be over the age of 75 were the ones getting in the way of his programs that many people, even to this day, regard as
I'm highly
violating
suspicious
the-
of
I believe it's
where
the supremacy clause?
where that talking point came from, or where you got that from, or who said it. I feel like that came from a very ideologically motivated place, but I could be wrong because I don't know this time period super
Okay.
well. But my understanding is basically we were coming out of the Great Depression, World War One, and then you have this hunger in America for basically this massive reformation of basically welfare stuff, state entitlement stuff, because everybody's hungry to see a change, and so FDR comes in with a fuck ton of popular support, both from the population
Correct. He has a
and in
mandate from the
Congress.
people.
Yeah. So the idea that he wanted to do all these crazy things as an individual, and these just a few judges were blocking me, I don't know how true that was. I feel like he probably could have done almost anything at that point. Yeah.
Well, again, fair, and I'm piss poor at making this argument, but it is absolutely. The argument that, well, if a president has a mandate from the people, then it justifies just basically overriding the supremacy clause and elements of the Constitution.
No, he had huge support in Congress. I don't think there was any. I don't know how much illegal
Okay, fine.
stuff.
But okay, correct me if I'm wrong. The whole point is, it doesn't matter how much popular support you have in Congress or other. If you want to override the Constitution, you need to change the Constitution.
Yeah, but I don't know if he overrode the
well enough-
Constitution.
Well, the argument is the supremacy clause. I believe it's I could be misspeaking here, but
Okay.
it's all of the powers that are not explicitly reserved to the federal government are reserved to the states. And the argument is all of these programs, like Social Security and a lot of the national labor regulation boards, were very clearly not entitled to the federal government, need to be done at a state level.
Okay. I mean, did the Supreme Court agree
but-
with that argument, or?
No, a lot of them. The Supreme Court struck down many of these, and FDR abided by that. But then the whole switch in time to save 9 thing is him basically saying, "I'm going to pack the court if they overturn the next one," and then they went along with it after that. So it's
Okay.
is it a clear-cut case of pure fascism in the United States? No, obviously that's not true.
Where does this talking point come from again, real quick?
Curtis Yarvin,
Okay.
Dave, the distributor. This is their person that they cite.
Okay.
which I just find interesting because a lot of progressives hold up FDR as like a idol. So it's kind of like, but I don't know. Seems like a. I'll do a dedicated video on it and do some research on it.
Mm-hmm.
This has been an informative talk for me. I appreciate it.
Really?
I'm glad that we were able to speak in a non-antagonistic manner.
We're never antagonistic.
Well, sometimes. These are not how all my conversations online go. So I appreciate it.
Who was your most combative conversation been with?
Probably Big Joel.
Oh God. Well,
See that one?
I haven't seen it, but he's like a leftist now, right? He's like a socialist tanky guy, or is he not that far left? Or
He's been a leftist, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a conversation that I did not prepare for.
What was the conversation about?
Looked foolish. About Nick Fuentes, basically.
Oh.
About this. And my whole point is like, first, he could be very well. He could be a hateful sociopath. My point is calling him these names is not a recipe for success. You need to
Wait, I'm curious real quick. Why do you think you get so much pushback when you say that?
Say what?
What you just said, that this isn't a recipe for success.
Because I think a lot of people perceive me, given my haircut, that I'm literally a white nationalist anti-Semite. And they do not believe for a moment that I genuinely want to find a middle ground between this is not actually anti-Semitism and also this is not a Jewish conspiracy type thing.
Okay, yeah. Because
it's not like I'm not aware that I participate in it when I constantly talk about Zog.
Sure, yeah. The perception is that you're more in that ballpark of belief than you let on, is what it feels like.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then when I say I'm doing this with the express intent of discrediting Nick and being controlled opposition from within by appealing to the kind of people that he would appeal to.
Yeah, then when you
we're in the realm of meta irony where either narrative can apply, and I don't care enough to, base my opinions off what people think I'm doing.
Yeah, but then when people only hear you
and
arguing one side of it, and then when you're restating the arguments for the other side pretty well, right? I think that people will have that assumption regardless of,
If people are only hearing me argue one side of it, that is a problem with the YouTube algorithm and or them, because the amount of times
What's the biggest argument you've had with somebody like on the right? Like, have you argued with a Groyper ever? Or argued with with a pro Fuentes or pro Sam Hyde fan and argued against them?
I do offline. I don't bring them on. Well,
what the fuck? Well, that's not a YouTube algorithm problem. That's a you problem then, no?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I absolutely state explicitly I don't know how many times I've used the word degenerate to call the people who believe that it's a Jewish conspiracy, that it's in Jewish people's genetics that it's a problem. That's a disgusting, degenerate, anti-Christian belief.
But that's not. But what you just said there almost sounds like a dog
who have I
whistle.
argued with?
No, wait. Just to be clear, because what you just said there. Wait. I'm just saying that what you just said there, right? Yeah. That's even a strong anti-Semite won't make that genetic argument that you just made. The race realist arguments apply to like black people. For Jewish people, it's always going to be like a cultural argument that people born into the Jewish culture, other people tell them.
So the literal Nazis that I talk to offline, I don't bring online because I actually don't want to necessarily platform them without being able to talk about the things that I want to talk about, which I don't know if they would be comfortable with because it's personal for them. Their whole thing is Christianity is a sect of Judaism that is meant to allow Jews to get away with their stuff because it says, well, all men are made in the image of God. That's the far right when I think of anti-Semitism, that's what I'm thinking of the people who are like,
I think
Hitler literally was a good guy.
Sure, but I think that's like a very minor. That's not like the loudest version or the most populist version of like neo-Nazi. I don't think that'll ever be. It's a weak argument. It's a loser argument. The strongest argument is...
You know what? I never thought Nick Fuentes denying the Holocaust would have gone mainstream, and yet here we are.
But Holocaust denial and revisionism has literally been in existence since the Holocaust happened, right? Like that's always. And also, I also wouldn't say that Holocaust revisionism is mainstream. I think it's more popular now than it has been in the past, but I don't think it's mainstream now.
Joe Rogan You saw the clip of Joe Rogan saying, "Wait, does Nick Fuentes deny the Holocaust, or does he just debate?"
Yeah, but Joe
the
Rogan is
numbers?"
fucking retarded, and a lot of the people that listen are fucking retarded. I
Otherwise,
agree that he's like I
he's
say
not
he's
mainstream.
more so than other things. I do agree with you, but like
yeah, in like a very mildly frightening way.
yeah, it's more mainstream than it used to be. A lot of bad stuff becomes popular through Joe Rogan's unfortunate existence. Sure. I'm just saying that you just when you platform certain arguments and then you talk about the need to counter them, and then you're always citing them correctly. If we were talking about like you brought up CSAM earlier, if we were talking about like pedophilia, and I would tell you that like we need to have a real conversation countering pedophiles and not just saying that pedophilia is gross, because you have to contend with how smooth and lithe their bodies are, and you have to contend with how innocent and gentle they are, and how alluring they are as children. Right? If I were to say this over and over again,
how do you not?
I'm just saying that like as I say this, you're not going to sit here and be like, "Wow, you're right. We really do." You're going to be like,
yeah, right. That's disgusting.
yeah, but when you're saying like we need to counter the fact that Edison or Ellison or all these Jews do have this influence, and that Ben Shapiro said that he's got dual loyalty, and that there are Israeli people. This guy in CBS owns all this stuff. I'm just saying that when you say it,
nothing to do with smooth bodies of children.
No, but I'm saying that when you say this over and over and over again, you say this needs to be countered. This needs to be countered. There's elements of truth to all of this, and you know all the arguments you're saying, and you're restating them over and over again.
Because I believe that's the best. Yes, because I believe there's nothing that benefits an ideological extremist than people calling them liars when they're not lying about specific.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that this is where the appearance comes from. That it sounds like what I said. What I just said sounded crazy to you, but most people when they hear you say those things, that's what they're hearing on the other side of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how to explain this. I don't care, and in many ways, I lean into it. And
but that's the issue, right? Like, but then you can't be surprised when people, if you lean into it and you don't care, that you can't be surprised when you're like, well, fuck, maybe this guy does believe.
I'm not mad if people have the wrong impression of me because they're too lazy to watch any of my videos. Because any serious,
but you just said you don't even do videos with the hardcore gripers. You just said you don't even post those videos.
No, I have said over and over and over again. How degenerate these beliefs are.
But degenerate is such a weak word.
You picked a very, just because I haven't debated what, okay, hold on. I don't even know.
I feel like degenerate is a very weak, it's not like, it doesn't mean, like degenerate, it feels very subjective to me.
Okay, well, so does disgusting or whatever, fine.
Immoral, yeah, if you say like incorrect, stupid, wrong, false is stronger, I would say. But like it's when you say, because it almost feels like you're sitting around, when you say it's degenerate to be so heavily anti-Semitic, it almost sounds like you're committing the error that you would claim my side commits, where it's like, you might be factually correct on everything, but I think it's bad to say it. You're degenerate. That's what it almost feels that way.
Okay, fine. I would say my definition of degeneracy requires deception. That's part of it. Like hedonism is degenerate.
Oh, sure. That could be the case. But I would argue you're using a relatively personal definition. I don't think most people would say that deception is part of degeneracy. Yeah.
Yeah. The two things I would say is I don't care. People can call me all kinds of names. In many ways, it makes me more and more powerful because then I have increasing amounts of evidence that I'm both called controlled opposition. What is it? I have a golemic facial structure.
Okay.
According to the Groypers. And every time I make a video about Nick Fuentes, it is mostly Groypers complaining about it. And then I have what all the leftists call it. It's like, I don't care. It's fine. If anything, that benefits me. But I am interested in how this plays out in the broader discourse, which is why I'm talking about it.
Okay.
And the other thing too is just, I think it's like I have people in my life who went down the real Nazi rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And so I don't take seriously the opinions of people who know really nothing about how anti-Semitism actually functions in people's minds and how it is almost always, in my opinion, a combination of mild to severe autism and significant childhood trauma that's directly related to hates, like racism and shit. And it's like, so I just don't care because I know what I believe. And if people want to accuse me of stuff, that's fine. It works to my advantage in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't give a fuck, then that's fine. Yeah.
I mean, I do in my real life.
Okay.
That does bother me. Well, you're just a racist. It's like, no, I've seen it close up. I've seen the I've seen the amount of time when people talk about Jews controlling, when people talk about going to the libraryofhate.com back 10 years ago or whatever this fucking was, and Jews do this and Jews do that. It's like, in my experience, twice as often those people were talking about killing themselves because it is truly a degenerate belief. It worries me now that it's becoming more and more mainstream.
Yeah, it's bad, yeah.
But believe it or not, and it sounds like you agree, the best way to not have the worst elements of it get mainstreamed is by simply, the dual loyalty thing, fine. We can talk about that on substance. We're not going to call you racist or
Sure.
hateful. Regardless
But there
of who's
has to
true.
be like another issue you run into too is the cruelty and the selective empathy that people have. People on the other side will never
100%.
tolerate the selective empathy, right? So like something that you brought up, I thought this is incredibly interesting. I wish I still had the article. I don't remember if it was an article, even a fucking tweet that I read, that there is an interesting commonality between a lot of the recent like mass or I shouldn't say mass shooters, but like shooters or assassins that have been appearing on the political scene. And it's not that they're left wing, it's not that they're MAGA, it's not that they're trans or Antifa. It's that a lot of them are just fucking schizo young people that have spent way too much fucking time online. But like you wouldn't be able to bring this up because the right would attack you for basically anything that doesn't say that it was Antifa or the left. And maybe there are people on the left who would get mad if you wouldn't blame it on MAGA or Trump or whatever. But like even if I point to the trans shooter, I believe in the church or whatever, that bro, the book. Did you see the video that they posted going through the like fucking 50-page like diary that they
pure schizophrenia.
Yeah, that's like some crazy online schizo shit. The Tyler Robinson dude, 22 years old, and you're fucking shooting people. The Luigi Mangione dudes, fucking out these young disaffected men who are out here doing crazy shit. But no, you can't even have that conversation. Yeah, it's not good. And that actually, wait, you don't know about what?
I 100% agree that there are elements of MAGA who are like, if you don't believe it was this, then you're just a left. I don't care about them any more than I care about the leftists.
Okay. That's the majority of MAGA, but yeah, go ahead.
Maybe.
It is, and their political leaders, they all say it, yeah. Reality is important. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I agree reality is important. So is making mild concessions for the sake of furthering the conversation without going down rabbit holes.
Okay.
I think it's fairly uncontroversial to claim that nihilism and like ideological nihilism and mental health issues are kind of at the root cause of all of this. And I do think there's a significant number of like again, people can say I don't believe this, but like I believe there is a proportion of, I don't know what it is. There's a proportion of Hassan's the total viewer base who's influenced by Hassan, who genuinely, if they could, would guillotine fucking billionaires the moment they had the ability to.
Sure.
And I genuinely believe there's
probably like a low, I'd say like maybe 6-7%.
Fine, 15, 20, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's the only time I'll do that. One of the issues that I have...
I would not have agreed to this if I knew you had a soundboard.
One of the issues that I have when it comes to the talking about this, though, is that people don't view the disaffected young person as like a problem. They just treat it as a vehicle. So maybe some people on the left will wield it and say, well, MAGA is causing young men to be like this. Or people on the right will wield it and say, this is what like the trans groomers are causing people to be like this. They won't actually stop and look and say, maybe making people's exclusive form of communication with their peers, text messages and shit, has like severely damaged us. Nobody ever I've said this for like 5 years now. I think even when I was doing the red pill shit, I was saying that like nobody wants to talk about this because it's not a very ideologically stimulating or exciting talk, because you can't really blame either side on it. And it would require like fundamental changes in how we do our life. Like I don't remember how old you are. I'm 37. I would never exist in high school with a cell phone like they have them today. Like sometimes I'll even see it pop up where like some school like took cell phones or whatever and people are freaking out, and I'm like, that seemed totally normal to me. Like we were never allowed to use our cell phone in school when we did have them. They were more basic back then, but like you would always get it taken at the beginning of the day and you get a detention or demerit support at least. Yeah.
Well, this is like the banning cell phones in schools is like one of the most widely supported.
Yeah, but I think I don't think it happens very much. I think it's really unpopular. Wait, when you say widely supported, I don't think it is. Because even the parents, because apparently when you have a kid, everybody forgets immediately what it's like to be a kid. And all the parents are like, no, my kid has to have their phone. I need to be able to contact my kid whenever I fucking blah, blah, blah. And I think it's like the parents that push back. Like, I think most parents push back against it though, yeah.
I know the only person, fair enough. I'm not dying on this hill. I'm fairly confident though that Jonathan, this is, Jonathan Haidt, the psychologist.
Yeah.
This is like his crusade, wait till 8 movement. In Australia, I believe they banned...
Wait till 8. I would never name a movement that. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I think like until you're in 8th grade to get a phone. Okay. The only person I know, the only public figure...
Sorry. Go ahead.
...who makes pro phones in schools argument is Taylor Lorenz.
Oh, it's this. This is a deeply unserious person who I think maybe is funded by Qatar or something. Well, she is actually just for some of her work, but this is a person who only exists to hijack public narratives and to be as disingenuous as possible. So be careful with what she says. Yeah.
I really don't like the well, the reason kids' mental health is declining is not because they're on their phones all the time. It's because of climate change. That's literally her talk. It's like,
Sure.
not that I think
Or the
kids
only
can
reason
be
they want to ban
affected
phones
by-
is because Israel is trying to keep them from getting pro-Palestinian talking points. That's the thing I've heard her say. She just has some
Oh my
crazy
God.
out there
Yeah,
opinions
exactly.
on everything.
Yes. If that talking point came out, be like, you are.
Well, I think she's literally said that. That was
Controlled
against when
opposition.
she was against the banning. It might have been the banning of TikTok, or it might have been taking phones away from kids.
Well,
she was saying that
that's-
like yeah.
That's different from banning them in schools. But
Sure.
anyway, any other topics you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. How you doing? You doing okay?
I'm doing great. You I mean, I won't be offended either way. Do my videos ever come across your feed?
No, but also I don't watch anything on YouTube. I don't have time to watch any. I don't watch anybody's videos on anything. If I don't watch it on stream, I don't watch it at all. So yeah.
Okay, that's fair. You didn't see Rowan's video, the Nick Fuentes 2035 final broadcast?
No, I didn't. Was it a good one?
It might be the greatest piece of art of 2025, in my opinion.
Wow, of 2025. Okay, well I'll watch it
I
right
think
after
so.
this.
In
okay?
terms of its political, artistic significance.
Man, you know whose video had a lot of political artistic significance? Sorry, finish your thing and then I'll go. Yeah.
No. I would advise it. Watch that on stream.
I will.
Hang up.
The
We're-
maybe you'll hate this though. That Elephant Graveyard guy's videos on Joe Rogan and all those people.
I don't know who Elephant Graveyard is.
Okay, that's a pretty.
Are they
big,
like
you
Too
would
Lazy to Try or American Redact, where they're always just shitting on like Brendan Schwab and Joe Rogan and that whole crew?
I don't know, but they would. You would like it too because he's like a mean person would say he's like pretentious, but he's just the way that he's. You would. I think you would like. You would watch this and you'd be like, oh, I need to get my cigar that I don't know how to smoke. I need to listen to this. Yeah, you would. You'd love it.
All right. The other question I would ask: moral foundations theory.
Jesus,
The Jonathan Haidt TED Talk. Did you ever see that?
I don't think so.
I don't want to abuse I'm on stream and hey, can you watch this video privileges? The Rowan one you should watch.
I've got that cute. Okay.
I would be very moral foundations theory, Jonathan Haidt TED Talk. It's like a 20-minute TED Talk. And it's key enlightened centrist propaganda, one could say. And I'd be very curious to just see your reaction to it, but of course,
Okay.
no obligation. All right. Thank you, sir. I got to edit this video and post it before your Clip Industrial Complex does.
You're good. They're on vacation now, so good luck. Have fun. Be careful.
Nice. All right. Godspeed, sir.
Bye.
Peace.